Tuesday, but that Friday, stuff is off the charts.
Has the International been as resistant to your reform group as the Teamsters has been resistant to TDU?
Absolutely, yes.
Nephew from Duluth, Minnesota, big port town. You haven't, okay, great.
Oh,
Come in the summertime.
that was part of my punishment, to set me the head case.
Well, I have a couple of quick factual questions to learn more about the port here. In Duluth, almost all of our port is bulk cargo, and it's almost completely automated now, which means we have almost no actual waterfront workers. There's a very, very small number of people who actually work the port. So I'm just curious, what kind of cargoes are coming from Charleston, and how many waterfront workers work in Charleston?
Well, I have 800 members in my local. We do everything. We have military, containers, automobile, bulk, break bulk, project cargo, everything. We do it all. We have a diversity of cargo, which they, and then the cruise business. All the cruise, the automobile, military, all those are very labor intensive operations. Containers typically labor intensive here in Charleston. So, you know, we're pretty fortunate to have such diversity of cargo.
Did you resist automation? Sorry, Mr. Follow-up.
Do we resist?
Did you resist automation when that started, or just figures?
We did not resist, because truly the first wave of automation for the East Coast was containerization, I guess, for the world, really. But it was only on the East Coast where our leadership back then saw the need to tax the automation, to tax the containers. We have something called a container royalty, and it generates income, a pool of money annually, and is considered a wage loss supplement. So for every container that we do not actually get to put the cargo in or take it out, there's a $3 per ton assessment. And that money is accumulated all year and is paid out to the workers maybe twice a year. But I hadn't heard of that anywhere else in the world that I found.
I'm curious to know, over in your experiences, how have you been in such a hostile state and in the face of so much powerful resistance, how are you able to manage or generate public sentiment, or how were you, or in what way were, I mean, you've got the governor on TV, you've got the attorney general on TV, telling us, how do you do that? Are you able to kind of try to affect public sentiment, or in what ways do you have success there?
There's still a lot of great people in South Carolina. We are part of the progressive network of South Carolina that's made up of about 65 different grassroots organizations that all see things differently from what's being portrayed by the legislature and all those who believe that in order to be pro-business, you got to be anti-union, and that's simply just not the case. We are homegrown. I'm not like some alien coming from someplace else, and it's going to destroy our economic system here. But linking up with community, that's why I said last night, we want to be community-based. We want to reach out to the likes of the NAACP, the churches, we there to support our community, and hope that if we should end up in a struggle, that community will support us. So I guess we all who are pressed link up together and help lick each other's wound, you know, because the wounds certainly do come from time to time. So but that's how we do it.
Yeah, but you know, people around Charleston believe that they own the Longshoremen hall, not that Kenny them. You know, we want to use it this week, we want to use it next week, we want to have this there. So it's really a community building, really, and they do a good job of providing that.
I wanted to know how the wealth of information and knowledge, experience that your organization has is utilized by Homeland Security.
I'm trying to make sure I understand that question. How they thought that we were going to be really hurt significantly by Homeland Security. That would be a way that we would lose half of our membership, and that they will be able to infiltrate with folks who would neutralize the power of the Union, as they know. Because it's always been said there's nothing but a bunch of thugs and convicts and drug addicts down on the waterfront. But what they didn't know, that we had long since started screening our own. We had long since started doing background checks and all these other things. So when they thought that they would use 9/11 to accomplish some of the things that they always had wanted to accomplish, didn't work. We didn't lose anybody to this new quick transportation workers identification credential, which was championed by our Senator, Jim DeMint, and he had this total list, this long list of disqualifiers. If you and your wife had got into an argument and maybe you smacked her in the cheek 10 years ago, you could not, you're a terrorist threat and you can't work on the waterfront. There was some of the most ridiculous lists of disqualifiers on it, but through our efforts in Washington and lobbying, we were able to get that list trimmed down to be a much more manageable list of disqualifiers. So in the end, we fought for an appeal process. We fought for all these things, and that served the industry well, and we were able to maintain 98, 99% of our workforce. Because let's face it, the docks has always been a place of a second chance. Those who may have been misguided, did not finish school, they had a chance to come on the docks, earn a good living, reestablish their lives, send their kids to college and train them not to make the mistakes that they made. We had some that actually got in trouble, did their time, spent, paid their debt to society and released, but then still yet, when the system says you're now ready to go back in society, society doesn't accept them. They're not able to get good jobs. They can always come to the waterfront, rebuild their lives, and keep moving. That's what they were depending on, that because of those type of situations, that bringing in Homeland Security, we are the ones who can identify a threat. We know where they hide on the ships. We can report them when the ship's coming alongside the dock, and you hear people hitting the water and escaping into the community. We are the one that blows the whistle. So, but then we are being put under such scrutiny as we are the ones who will be harboring the terrorists, because actually we live in these communities. When the ship comes to port, we come from various communities in all the counties around here, and we go down there and do our job and go back and go back. So certainly, if it's a threat to the community, it's a threat to my family and your family, everybody else. So, but again, it was the Republican agenda at that time, and again, Jim DeMint leading the way, that he was going to use this opportunity and the fears associated with 9/11 to bust the Longshoremen.
Yeah, one of the other things that Kenny have done on the docks also, that the education level has gone up tremendously. We've got very educated group of people working down there than when I was much.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I've got a question for all three of you related to sort of South Carolina politics, progressive movement. You guys, y'all all been here a while. We won't talk about how long, but y'all all been here a while. And you talked about the low level of unionization, and Kenny talked about how Hodges created such a furor about appointing him to the port authority. Looking forward, what do you see is the leverage point? What is the one thing that we ought to be doing? Where can we sort of apply pressure, new energy, focus what we're doing to move things in a different direction going forward? We all know where we ain't got much hope, but where would you say we ought to be focusing the progressive sort of Democratic coalition in this state to try to make the biggest difference going forward?
I don't know about the Democratic Party or whatever caucus, but I know what I'm focusing on. I believe the National AFL Saturday. I said earlier that seems like everyone has given up on especially on South Carolina. We have one of the smallest state fairs, in the country. If we do not get any subsidy from the national to keep our operation going annually, we would go under. I've never seen a budget ran this tight, but at the end of the year, we may have 19 cents left in the AFL-CIO budget, 19 cents, okay? So, but I think the AFL-CIO has it wrong going forward. Over 20 years ago now, we made a concerted effort to get involved in politics. We set up our Washington offices. We have all of our members have a check off for co-contributions. And there's millions and millions of dollars. We've spent probably billions of dollars in politics over the last 2 decades or so. And right now, there's one, and in the ILA, nationally, there's one budget that is overfunded. And that's the COPE budget, overfunded. And so it is with the AFL-CIO. Now, but when it's time to do real on-the-ground work, organize, educate, trying to educate South Carolina workers who are anti-union workers. Right now, we just launched the Job Blitz Rights Now campaign. 2 weeks, and we're getting ready to have our first meeting within 2 weeks. To start focusing on these things. Guess what we have to do? We have to raise money. We got several congressional candidates this year and senatorial candidates. All I do is make one call to Washington, 5,000. 5,000, this candidate, 5,000, this candidate, 5. Checks, I call the company and get a check. But now, if I need resources for the Job Rights Now campaign, I get 0. So, we need to really begin to put our money back and invest in the campaigns on the ground with the people. Not to say that we're going to abandon the political agenda, but if we were to take 50% of all dollars going into our political budgets, all these high dollar offices and staff we got in Washington, and put 50% of that back on the ground with full-time educators and so forth, I believe you'll begin to see a difference.
You know, and to talk more about that is to make sure that you can educate people about take Boeing, for instance. Making sure that people can understand that here's a company that's not going to pay no taxes for 10 years. And everything that they want, they're going to get free. When we start looking at even cars right now with poor people, if you go to the BMW dealer and you buy a $100,000, not BMW, but Mercedes dealer, you buy a $100,000 car, you pay $350 of the tax. If you went in the poorest person here go buy a $7,000 car, still pay $350 worth of tax. The way that this thing is structured against poor, and people don't know this. And we need from the union label to begin to educate people on how you're being ripped off by the system. All of the money that's going into these companies that they're recruiting is to keep you in slavery labor type situation. But we have not done a good job on that at all. They made that Boeing is the best thing that ever happened to South Carolina. And that's not true. These folks that come in and get everything that they want for free. And our political leaders, especially the Republican Party, are saying that we're going to get you all some jobs out of it.
I want to, Armin, go ahead. I want to follow up on that. When Boeing came in, part of the company that they had brought up was represented by a union. And as a result of Boeing coming in, they were able to get an election in which the workers at that plant who were represented by a union voted the union out. What would you do to change that? Or how did that happen?
Well, again, in this case, I have to blame the union first for not, when you come into the South, you organize a group of workers who don't have a union background, don't know very little about unions, and you don't service them the way they need to, then you have the management, people having them believe that we are the ones on your side, we're the ones that gave you a job, you don't need the union. Some of the things I talked about, I learned when I was here, how you keep a union out. And they're seeing the management more than they're seeing the union representative, and I think needs of this type of thing. But again, like you said, our governor was on television saying that, he thanking Lindsey Graham and all the politicians who helped to get going here.